Cool. So here is how to cut the princess cut, female shell with princess cut. You start with your neck for the back pattern, and then the measurements, we are using 2.5 by 1 inch. This is 2.5, then by 1 inch. 2.5 by 1 inch, and then you mark it. Then that's for the neckline. The next thing is to go to the shoulder. Shoulder is 14 inches. So you measure 14 inches with ½ inch for sewing allowance. Then you measure 0.75 inch down with 0.5 inch for sewing allowance. The measurements are also in the workbook. Then you slant it to the shoulder. You can check the workbook for the diagram and also the measurement. So this is the shoulder. Okay, we are done with the shoulder now. The next thing is the armhole. So from here, armhole is 14 inches. So that's divided by 2, which is 7. So you measure 7 downward here. Then you rule it across. So this is the 7 inch that you have measured. Then you rule it across. So here you will measure your bust. For this pattern, the bust is 38 divided by 4, which is 9.5 plus 1.5 inch. Alright, so with that, then you can make your curve. So that's your curve. Now the next thing now is to go to the half length. The next thing now is to go to your half length. Half length for this pattern is 16 inches. So 16 inches ends here. The full length is 27 inches, and then you add 1 inch for sewing allowance. On the half length, it's just the same way we did the normal female shell with that. That's where your waistline is. So the waist is 34 divided by 4. That's 8.5 with 1 inch that with 1 inch sewing allowance. Then on the hip, you come to the hip. Hip for this pattern is 40 inches with 1.5 inch. Then you can now connect the sides together like this, just the same way that we did with the female shirt with that. All right, that is that. Now you rule across the length. Remember the length I said is 40 inches. You also rule across the 1 inch hem allowance that is there too. Now for the curve down, you can use your curve to make a curve there. Let's see how this goes. Very good. So that is done now. So the next thing now is to make the princess. Okay, for the princess, come back to the waistline. So on the waistline, we have waist of 8.5 plus 1 inch. That makes 9.5. So find the midpoint of 9.5, which is going to be 4.75 inches. So this is also 4.75 inches. So you check that 4.75 inches across on the bust line and also on the hip line, 4.75 inches. Then you rule. Just rule it down, then rule it up too. After that, then on the armhole, come back to the armhole. The standard is actually between 3 to 5 inches, but for this mid size, this is like a size 10 shirt, we use 3.5. You measure 3.5 from here down, which ends here. So you need to connect this midpoint. So you can use your curve again. Yes, Then make sure you extend it with just 1 inch upward. It's important, so by the time you are joining it, one side will not be smaller than the other side. So that 1 inch extension goes around the armhole. You are still going to reshape the armhole when you are sewing, but temporarily for cutting, this is what you do. All right, now everything is set, so the next thing is to cut. So you start cutting from the neckline. Cut this. You are not cutting the princess yet until you have cut the front pattern. Remember, this is just the back pattern. This is the back pattern. So when we are cutting the front pattern, that's where we will cut the princess with it. Now this is the front pattern of the female shirt with the princess cut. The next thing you will do, the first thing you will do is to fold the button stand, which is just 1.5 inch. For female shirt is 1.5 inch. You fold it, this is it. Measure 1.5 inch round and then you fold it. Now it's been folded. Then how do you know how to position the back pattern on it? You now measure ½ inch. 0.5 inch, you measure it on the folded button stand, measure 0.5 inch down, just mark it down. Then it is on those points that you will position your back pattern. Dot that you will position the back pattern. If you want to rule it, you are also free to rule it. So this is the positioning. Now the next thing to go and do now is to do the neckline for the front. You can rule it. Remember, the back width is 2.5 and it's going to be the same thing with the front width too. So from here, you measure it from the same way with the back width. So this 2.5. So you rule it. Then the depth also is 2.5. So from there, you can make a depth of 2.5. You are just going to have a square, a perfect square. Then you rule it like this as well. All you need there is a perfect square. Then you can now use your curve for the neckline. So that's that about the neckline. So we are back. So what we are going to do now is just to cut. That's all. We are just going to cut. So watch the way I'll cut. The shoulder is the same thing, so you cut along the same shoulder. So after cutting that, the last thing to do is now to cut the princess together. So you can see that the front pattern is very easy. So while cutting, make sure you don't finish cutting it. You can see I didn't finish cut, so I can know the one that is meant for each other when I'm joining it. So that's that about the front and the back pattern. This is the front.